there is an excitement about creating your life and about creating what you want. And even though you have no idea what's around the next corner, I'll tell you this, every expectation that I thought I would have when I started this company, none of that happened. But what ended up happening were things that were far beyond what I could ever imagine.
I see my victory so clear. I see my victory so clear. And today, we break through. And today, we break through. And today, we break through. And today.
You know, one of the things is that I think that we tend to take so much weight on ourselves. But what we have to remember, and I'm reminded of this every single time we're on an expedition, is the value of your team, the value of your friends and your family and your coworkers, because no one understands what we deal with on a daily basis other than our own pharmacy peers. And I think that that's one of the points. And there was something else that triggered a thought that you had said, Adam, which was so wise. But when I look back in my life and I look at the things that we've been able to accomplish, there have been more times that I've been on my knees than there have ever been the mountaintop experiences. And some of the most difficult obstacles, the most difficult struggles that I have ever had in my life, the end result were some of the most beautiful epiphanies and awakenings and results. And I'll give you an example. Our team was in the Congo for 2 months. And during that time, we were arrested by police 5 times and put in jail twice. Wow. And there is, talk about fear and not knowing what's going to happen, or feeling like you are the ultimate failure. And I battled that my entire life, because you have these high expectations. And I think we all do when we graduate. Oh, we're going to go out, we're going to change the world, and we're going to make a difference, and we're going to make people better, and we do so at our own detriment. And I love that about what you're doing, is because you remind all of us that we've got to take care of us first. And if we are not taking care of ourselves by eating correctly and dieting and exercising, and even more so, I think sometimes your mental health that goes along. And I think the mental health, it parallels with your physical health. Absolutely. I know myself, even if I take a long walk, my mind is clear and it's refreshing. But I think we all need to be reminded of that, and that we are not superhuman, that we are making differences even when we don't even realize that we're making those differences.
Absolutely. What the mind believes, the body achieves, without question. But real quick, did y'all catch that? She was arrested in the Congo twice. Do you guys know how dangerous the Congo is, first of all? But I think what you said is so profound and just absolutely beautiful on so many levels, both spiritually and intellectually, about being on your knees more than being on the mountaintop. Because in my opinion, and how I view pharmacy, we are servants. We're not, I'm a doctor, I'm entitled, I don't do this. We have great power of knowledge, and with that power comes great responsibility to serve from being on our knees. And what you said, being arrested twice, that really will test your faith. And I want to just tell you guys, because I know a lot of you have faced fearful situations, in the levels of that varies from person to person. But if you look at both fear and faith, they are actually exactly the same, but twin opposites. So what is fear? Fear is not knowing the future and predicting what the outcome is in a negative light. Faith is not knowing the future and predicting the outcome in a positive light. So literally, when you face it, it's the truth. When you face adversity on a severe level, whether that's at the pharmacy or at school, maybe you're suffering with your grades, or maybe you have an unforeseen life circumstance, personal, with your family, with a friend, whatever that might be, and you feel like you're at that point where, is this even worth it? If you've ever been in pharmacy, I guarantee you face this question: is this even worth it? And that is when your why is going to be tested, and why it all comes back to having that strong why. Because if you have a strong why, you'll be able to bear almost any how. So when you're in the Congo, in jail, that is a test of your faith. And holy crap, your mental game must be like next level to get through that twice. So wow, that's just amazing. Just amazing.
It is. And I've recently published a book. So it took me 6 years. So it tells you what kind of writer I am, Adam. But when you are just working on the weekends and after hours, it takes a lot of time. But yeah, it was beautiful, because I told my favorite stories on the treks, and a lot of that includes, the stories of us collecting the plants and why. But it's not a research; it's just really some of my most favorite adventurous stories, if you will. But there is the underlying lesson, if you will, in my life, and I'm thinking of the stories that are in the book, and there's some very difficult things, and there are so many times in my life that I've come so close to giving up. Wow, to be a barista at Starbucks and not have to worry about, all this other stuff that you have to worry about as a pharmacist or whatever. And I'm not demeaning that at all, but just to change professions drastically, from going from something like that to a Starbucks is what I meant to incline. But, you start thinking about, okay, I don't even want to do this career anymore. I want to completely do something different and not have to worry about that. But the thing is that you are growing and you are changing, and because of your growth, you are, and to use your word servant, you are becoming a greater and greater servant. And sometimes it's not what you put in the bottle that's going to make a difference. It's that hug that you give a person. It's that 5 minutes of your time to listen and say, I understand, hang in there. And to me, that is some of the best medicine that we could possibly be given out. And I think that with me, when my short term with retail, we were in a very, very busy store, and that part was taken away. So that's when I got stressed out, was because the focus was on insurance and filling those bottles, instead of that one-on-one time that I felt was my calling, is to that interaction with people. And it's difficult if you don't incorporate those things in your life.
100% agree. 100%. That is really profound what you said yet again. So it's just, you're amazing, really.
Oh, Adam, I find you are, and I love that you're doing the work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
I've just sort of been a little consumed with you and all that you, and you're so young in many ways, because you have it together, and life is about this huge picture. And I think sometimes we get so focused, we go home and we're focused on one particular patient that maybe ruined our day that day, and we give them control. We let them steal our joy. And I tell myself often, when those things happen, number one, don't take it personally. Chances are that's nothing about you. It's whatever is going on in their life.
Exactly.
But life is so precious, and you have so much to give, that don't let anything or anyone steal your joy. And you've just got too much to give. And that's in the world and at home and, wherever you are.
Spot on. I've talked to so many pharmacy students and pharmacists who are going towards that path of burnout, negativity, changing careers. And it's always two reasons that are because of that. The first one is they're not prioritizing their self-care. They're skipping the gym. They're eating what's convenient. They're not investing in their self because there's not enough time. Number one, that's the first thing. The second thing is they don't see the one concept that it's not about you. So when someone comes into the pharmacy, and you guys have heard me say this time and time again, when someone comes into the pharmacy, chances are they're not having a good day. They have an infection. Maybe they just got diagnosed with a condition they're super scared about. They might be picking up for a family member that just was in a car accident or had a heart attack. They're not in the best state of mind.
Right.
So they're probably going to be projecting a lot of this pain and fear and anxiety. And while they're projecting it, it unfortunately sometimes comes to you. If you think and feel that it is about you and directed at you personally, you will burn out. I guarantee you. But if you realize where they're coming from, I'm not saying take abuse, but if you realize intellectually where they're coming from and don't take it personally because it's not about you, you will not take that home with you. Guys, those are the two reasons for burnout, period. You're not investing in your self-care and you're taking patients' pain personally. That's it. If you don't do those two things, you will have a long career, I guarantee you. So I think what you said is totally spot on. Coming back to what you said, there's so many things, so many ways we can go here. First, I do want to come back to your book because that's tremendous. And it's just, as a fellow author, I know what that takes. And for you to do 6 years, I get it. I'm finishing up my book. It should be out before Thanksgiving, but that's going to be an almost 4-year process for me. So I totally get it.
Oh, congratulations. I saw that the one on Amazon now.
That one came out last fall, but this one actually I started before that one even began.
Really?
This one is going to be for pharmacy students on how to create a career that sets you up for success, makes you competitive, gives you those soft skills of how to nail your networking, master a conference, and so forth.
Nice. I cannot wait.
Thank you. But I want to come back to your story and what you said about the time that you were in pharmacy starting to feel that your spark was dwindling and that you weren't dispensing your full potential as a pharmacist and as someone that has such a beautiful humanity and sense of empathy for those that you serve and work with. And unfortunately, a lot of people do come to that point. And every one of us will, if you have not already, come to a point where you ask yourself, is this even worth it? Is this really what I want to do with my life? And it's a crossroads that all of us will face. So my question for you, Amy, is to kind of share when that moment happened, how you went about thinking about that and taking action, just creating some sort of momentum to get the ball rolling. So you didn't create this huge company. You didn't create this huge thing overnight. It took time. It took steps. Right. That's what I want you to share is where do you start if you find yourself in that place where you feel like you're not having a fulfilling career or you feel burnt out or you start asking these types of questions. Where can you recommend someone to start that's in that position?
Yeah, for me, I think one of the best things I could say is do not let fear stop you. When you start to embark on a new career or you start to venture out, it's an unknown. You have no idea what's going on. And case in point, I decide I'm going to go out and I'm going to find these treatments. That's based on the fact over 55% of our pharmaceuticals come from nature, from these novel compounds. So I know that there are a lot more novel compounds out there in new pharmaceuticals. But Adam, when I started, I naively said, oh yes, I'll just go and I had no idea how to take a team into a country, the permits that were required, how to get those specimens out, where the money was going to come from, yada, yada, yada. But for some reason, I just kept putting one step in front of another, in front of another, in front of another. And there were a lot of things that I had to learn the hard way. It was a very steep learning curve. The thing is that sometimes it's really good to be naive because had I known all the obstacles and the hurdles and the complications that we would have over the 10 years, 11 years now that we've had to encounter, I don't know that I would have even started the process. But there is an excitement about creating your life and about creating what you want. And even though you have no idea what's around the next corner, I'll tell you this. Every expectation that I thought I would have when I started this company, none of that happened. But what ended up happening were things that were far beyond what I could ever imagine. Doors opened, I met people, I had opportunities and teammates that I could never have comprehended were possible at that beginning. So I guess what I would say is if somebody feels like they are at a dead end or that they can't do something, feel the fear and do it anyway.
I love that. And guys, what you said is so great. Wanting to know what's ahead, because we all do, like we're type A pharmacists. We want to know the plan. We want to do it 1, 2, 3, ABC, right? But not knowing can be such a wise thing, and avoiding those painful moments, they might allow you to bypass it, but painful experiences, naive experiences might be hard lessons, but they're lessons that you'll never forget and likely never repeat. So
Right.
there is value in that. And then I talk a lot about how pain can be actually such a blessing. But I think what you said is just embracing that fear and looking at it. You guys have probably heard this acronym before, FEAR, fear. Is it, face everything and rise like Amy's doing, or is it fear scary stuff? So you've got to really define what fear means for you and take action towards that. And what you said is so great, that you just need to start. Send an email. Maybe you're looking at diving deeper into nutrition. Send me an email. I started that journey back in 2010. So send me an email. I'd be happy to get you started. Follow an account, read a book, do something, one little thing. All it takes is one little action step. You don't have to figure everything out in today, but you need to create some sort of momentum to get the ball rolling and set yourself up so that you can keep that process going day by day by day. It's not doing a 180 and getting 100% now. It's 1% improvement every single day, constant and never ending improvement. That's the secret. And I think such a great piece of advice that you shared, Amy, and I think it's spot on because that's how I started too. So
Right.
I love that.
And
Now,
Adam, I think that you are very much like me too, and that you have to be okay with going beyond your comfort zone. The very first expedition we did, we went after grants, we went after funding, and got absolutely not $1 towards the expedition itself. So that expedition in 2008, all the way to 2014, I funded out of my own pocket. Now, so the only reason I'm saying that is you talk about getting out of your comfort zone. When you start putting your own finances in, you deplete your 501k, you deplete everything. But the thing is that it's okay to make those risks. You've got to be wise in making those decisions, if you will. But had I not put everything that I had into that, I gave everything. And when you're passionate about something, as you know, you give everything. And you look back and you would have it no other way, because if you didn't give everything of yourself, you can't expect everything that you desire to come back to you as well. And I think the bottom line is that I believe that we all have purposes and purpose in life. And this was a big part of my life and what I was led to do. And had I not done what I did, I would have said no. And again, I think that there would have been a part of my soul that would have died, because I would not have been living the purpose of who I am and being of service to other people, as you so beautifully stated earlier.
I think the big takeaway is that money talks. And there's many reasons for that. And one thing that I've seen that distinguishes people that get all excited, try something for a couple months, and then say it didn't work out, as opposed to you who have been doing this for many, many years, is it's the concept of delayed gratification, of not expecting all this money and this change right now and this glorification and whatnot now, but putting that aside, setting your ego aside and realizing that this is a process. There is going to be a payoff, whatever that means to you, whether that's impact or whatever you judge that by, but that will not come in weeks, months, or even years. That is going to be a process and a test of if you're in that for the right reasons. Now, there are some people that keep going in it for the wrong reasons. And unfortunately, you will be found out. It's true, especially with social media now. Someone meets you and they can see right through that crap, because guys, this is truth. When you are faking and not being true and honest with yourself, and you're trying to be someone you're not, that might work for months, even years. But here's what's going to happen. And I have seen this myself. Eventually, you're going to come up against or meet someone that is in it for the right reasons and has been doing this for a long time. And they'll be able to see right through your bullshit so fast. You will be you don't want to be in that situation. I have seen that happen.
Right.
So you do not want to be, you're doing yourself a disservice. So you really need to have an honest conversation with yourself and ask, what am I doing this for? What is my why? And see what steps you need to take to get that started. And I think this dovetails so nicely to what you've done, what you've shared, putting that delayed gratification, investing everything you had, both with your energy, with your time, and financially, going back to Money Talks. And years and years and years, 28 plus years later as a pharmacist. And now here you are with all of this success, with this impact, with this team that you said earlier, you couldn't do without. And I agree 100%, regardless of what area you are in as a pharmacist, we can't do anything without our techs, without our team. There are knights and princesses in shining armor. Let me tell you, I'd be nothing without my techs. But all that's culminated into your work to give back and to share these stories, that being your book. And I would really like for you to share the title of that book a little bit. I know you shared it's your stories. I will put a link to that in the show notes so that you guys can get a copy of that, because that is going to be really inspirational. If you thought what she had to say here was, we're a little limited with time, but with that book, you can have just adventure after adventure. So I do want to invite you to share more about your book and what that looks like.
Right. The title is "And the Silence Spoke." And, it really is just really some of our most favorite experiences on the tracks. It's going into these remote villages, the experiences we have, to driving in the SUVs, crossing rivers, and I don't want to give away much of the book because it is there. There are some beautiful, beautiful stories in there, but we have a film on Amazon Prime called Expedition Congo.
Wow.
And on all of our treks, we take a film team. And so we created a documentary that has been blessed with some really great awards, and that's all the team. That's not my doing.
Wow.
But in the book, like the last 5 or 6 chapters are based on the Congo. And it really talks about, truly, Adam, it is the experiences that you have as you walk through life and the wonderful surprises, and yet at the same time, the situations that we have and the results. Like I mentioned, the arrest, and the two that I talk about a lot in the book were quite horrifying, to the point where a police raises a sawed-off shotgun and knocks the back of the head of our driver and almost knocks him unconscious, and the yelling and so forth, to some of the travels that we do to remote areas to see the mummies up on the side of the cliff, which bring about the afterlife, and how other people look at what happens when a person in the tribe dies, and the respect for that, and the spirituality, and then, you know, reflecting upon your own experiences with your own family members who have passed. And so, but it really is, it's been a beautiful process. As you know, I think when you finish a book, you're so happy that it's over, but then, isn't that the truth? But, you know, I've had just the most wonderful comments, and the joy alone of knowing that people are reading it and that they're enjoying it. And so anyway, it's been a beautiful process.
That's absolutely phenomenal, and I had no idea that you're a movie star.
Oh, no, not the team. The team is, but you know, they don't show the parts in there where you know, there was a point where in the Congo we were bombarded with swarms of bees constantly every single day, and to be stung by bees, you know, it's not a bad thing unless you have anaphylactic reactions, but it's the psychological thing. When all of a sudden you have 100, 200 bees around you, and they are crawling on the inside of your glasses and in your ears, and it becomes this psychological challenge. And at one point was the point in the 2-month trek that I had my breaking point. And I turned to my 2 good friends who are there. You never lose your composure in front of your porters and trackers. You just never lose your composure. But in front of Will and Tibby, who were my good buddies, you know, I just turned to them, at them, and tears started going down my cheeks. And I was like, you know, I don't know how much more I can handle. And at that point, they both hugged me. And it's like, it's okay, it's okay. And that was enough to be able to say, okay, everything's okay. Had the breaking point. We're going to be fine. So let's, you know, let's put the big girl panties on and let's just keep going. And sometimes that's all you need, is just somebody to say, okay, understand. It's going to be okay.
Exactly. Exactly. And that is our role as pharmacists with patients, you know, coming to us with really personal, sensitive issues, their health, their state of living. And they come to you with this, they have questions, and yes, you're really busy. Yes, you might be understaffed. You've got flu shot quotas, whatever it is. But if you lose sight of the reason you're there, healing and empathy, you lose the opportunity to do what those 2 friends of yours just did to you. And what was it? $1 million? Getting a whole new team, giving you, you know, all this food, and just snapping their fingers and the bees went away? No, there was no miracle. There was nothing extraordinary, just genuine compassion. It was a hug. It was meeting you where you are and saying, I am here with you.
Right.
That's all it took. And look what you've produced because of that. And guys, each and every one of you have this opportunity as a pharmacist, whether you're in community, whether you're in the hospital, whether you're a pharmacy student and you're at a health fair, you have the opportunity to do this. You don't have to wait till you graduate and go 20 years deep and be in the Congo, which is phenomenal, but you don't have to wait. There's no right time. The right time is right now, and you have the opportunity to do that. And that's really the message that I really wanted to portray through this podcast and through all the amazing work that Amy's done, is healing starts with you. That's what I've been trying to preach and share with you all through the work that I've done. That's become my mission, is really show you that you do have that power. You don't have to wait until you have accolades, before you have more degrees than a thermometer. Like, you guys can do this right now. Wherever you are, that's exactly where you are meant to be. So I think that's an amazing story. I could go on for hours and hours, but I guess I'll just go on Amazon Prime and watch your movie.
Yeah, I'll tell you that after every one of our treks, the post-production team creates DVDs. So I'm still old-fashioned, so I like to know, DVD, HD, whatever. But
could be VHS though. You could be real old-fashioned and go VHS.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I did give that one up several years ago. But anyways, they usually
progress.
They usually get those to be like within a week. And Adam, I just barricade myself and I am consumed because I'm like, okay, what did we capture? How does this look? How are we going to do this? Blah, blah, blah. When we got back from the Congo, it took me 7.5 months before I would look at that footage. It was intense from we were lost to dehydration to swarms of bees to the police arrest. It was just one thing after another after another. But you look back and I'll just reiterate again, I would not change one decision. And I haven't made always the best decisions, but you learn from those and you move on. And, as far as what you were saying with the pharmacy profession, I didn't graduate pharmacy school thinking that I was going to be an explorer or much less write a book or much less have educational materials out in the world. I never, ever thought of that. What I did was I saw a need. I saw that I felt extremely helpless. And I thought I would just try and do something that would make a difference. And one door opened, another door opened, another door opened, another door opened. But it was only because the people along the way that were so kind to help open those doors. This isn't something I did on my own. I just had the open heart and the open mind to say yes, and yes, and yes, and yes. And like if there's something that I can ever do to help any of your listeners, I'm always open to that. We are a strong profession. We're a very respected profession. And I think that in the years to come, what our responsibilities are going to shift. But I also think that our roles are going to expand beyond the borders that we have them at now. And they're going to be individuals that are going to come next generation. They're out there right now. And if there's something that I can do to help, please know that it would be a joy to do so.
Absolutely beautiful. Everything that you said, and bringing this podcast full circle. In the beginning, we talked about if you're a pharmacy student or pharmacist at your breaking point, facing that lack of passion, facing that focus on negativity and what's wrong instead of what's right. And you ask yourself the question, is this worth it? I think that if you take Amy's advice and learn from what she's done, from what she just said, being in the Congo and arrested and everything that she's gone through, I'm going to ask you a question, and I think I know the answer, and I think the listeners and viewers will as well. But Amy, sharing all that you've gone through and everything that you've endured, you've invested time, you've invested years, you made sacrifices, you've invested money, you've invested pain, you've invested a lot. But right now, I'm going to ask you the question, is that even worth it?
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
So guys, if you want to be in that position of being asked that question and saying, yes, everything I did is worth it. Yes, I am living my passion. Yes, I am making a difference. I might not have my end goal right now, but I am making moves. I'm taking action. Because if you are faced with that question of, is what I'm doing worth it? And you can't say yes, being true to yourself, the only person that can change that no or maybe or I don't know into a solid without a doubt yes is you. And the way you do that is to get started. That's what this podcast is about. You have the power. You don't have to wait. There's no right time. The right time is right now. Use what Amy shared. I know this was a longer podcast than normal, but it's worth it because you're worth it. And that's the whole point. You are what makes the difference in your life. The only person that can turn that question of, is it worth it, into a resounding yes, where it makes you smile just like Amy did. If you're watching the video portion of this, you can see that. You can see the passion. You can feel it. You can hear it in what she says, in the works that she does, and how she lives her life, and how she works with others, and how she inspires others through the work that she does. That is what it takes. It's taking action. And the only one that can do that is you. So I hope you guys found this podcast valuable. I am fired up. I'm glad I have this weekend off. We're recording on a Saturday because I'm going to take all this energy and put it into productivity. So I absolutely loved it. And that's what's great about this podcast is you can listen to it driving to work. Maybe you're walking to pharmacy school. Maybe you're walking to class, or you have some extra time on a weekend and you're watching the YouTube video version of this podcast. But guys, I really appreciate you taking the time to invest in yourself, to grow, to learn from people that are doing the things you dream about. Because guess what? They started right where you were. They started right with what you had or what you didn't have. And that, I hope, is an inspiration to you, that it doesn't take all these things. It doesn't take all this stuff. It only takes right now, and it only takes you. So if you found this helpful, please share this podcast, wherever you're listening it to, especially Instagram. Post that in the stories, tag me at the Fit Pharmacist so that I know you're listening. I will reshare that to give a shout out for your support. On YouTube, this was a very engaging video podcast as well. I would love for you to see all of the other things involved with this. We have snippets from the work that she's done that are going to be a part of this video portion of YouTube. So if you're listening to the audio portion, check out the YouTube because there's parts in there that are not in the audio. Please make sure that you check that out as well. Subscribe, share this, because that's how this community grows. That's how we're going to change where pharmacy is and invest in it to be that change and to help each other to rise through that. You heard Amy say, if you're in a spot where you're not sure where to go, she is there to help you. We want to get this message out to more pharmacy students, to more pharmacists, to healthcare professionals all over the world, that it doesn't have to be just you. Each needs the help of the other, and that's how we do this, guys. It's all about the team, and that's the purpose of this podcast. So please help that mission go by subscribing to this, by sharing this with other people that you know, whether they're starting out but where you started in pharmacy or they've been practicing for quite a while. That's what this is for. That's the whole reason for the Fit Pharmacist community, is to be the change you wish to see in pharmacy. And that starts with you dispensing your full potential. So I hope that this interview served as one of the many resources to help empower you to do that. And I just want to acknowledge you, Amy, for being on this, for sharing your journey and all of your wisdom, because I took notes, I learned a ton, and I'm extremely honored to now know you video to video. First it was Instagram, then email, now video. So we're like escalating here. It's getting kind of serious.
I love it. It really has been such a treat to be with you. I adore you. I love what you're doing, and we'll look forward to all the other podcasts that you have coming out. So thank you for letting me be a part.
It's an honor. Guys, this is Dr. Adam Martin of the Fit Pharmacist Healthcare Podcast, signing off with the Amy Greeson. Go forth, be great, and dispense your full potential, because it all starts with you.